Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Happy Friday to you all. Hope you guys are doing all right this morning and having yourselves a great start to your day, a great ending to your work week, or whether today is the beginning of your work week. I know not everybody has the luxury of being off on the weekends. Some people work the weekends, but regardless, hope you guys are doing well out there this morning. Got a lot to talk about in this morning's video. We got to talk about the tropics. We're going to talk about the fact that today is going to be a big severe weather day, probably one of the biggest that we've seen in probably a couple weeks, I'm thinking. And we're going to talk about the Northeast, how they could see some beneficial rain today that you guys certainly have been drying out very quickly. And there's certainly other areas of the country that needs rain too. But today we know that the Northeast areas of New England is certainly going to see rain. There's going to be a flooding risk in really two areas I'm watching. And the National Weather Service is certainly watching also, and that is in Montana and then areas of the southern high plains. We'll talk about that. You guys are just getting too much rain. You will continue to get rain today. So we'll break that down for you folks. Like I said, longer video. We'll get very detailed with this. I'll have time stamps set up so you can skip to whatever you really want to listen to, or if you're one of my super followers here that likes to just let the entire video play through, that's always wonderful too, and I certainly appreciate folks who do that. But I understand not everybody's got time to listen to a 25-30 minute weather video, so totally understand. But regardless, if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below so I can do that, and I promise you others will do so too. Let's get going here. Wider vapor loop. I still have this mid upper level trough that's right here in this area, and there's a blocking pattern set up to the east right into here. I don't have my little cursor pulled up where I can circle things and draw lines and things, but there's basically a spin, and I'll show you later in the video really how evident it is. And there's a spin right here over kind of the northern Rockies and basically the northern and northwest portion of the country, and this will provide lift for plenty of showers and storms again this afternoon. It's already ongoing right now this morning from the leftovers of yesterday, and then today we will have a little bit of a, well, not a little bit, but a pretty stout dry line setup where we're going to have the chance for not only for significant hail, but chances for damaging winds have increased. Also, how these storms look a little bit more like a linear mode compared to some of the model guidance yesterday, but the tornado threat has not dropped. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised in the next update or two that it increases. But we'll talk about that. And then you see this little plume going off in the northeast Gulf of Mexico. This is our Tropical Depression 2. So we'll see if it, pulls a wild card again sometime throughout the morning hours and, looks a little bit better than it does right now and becomes Tropical Storm Arlene. But per the latest 5 a.m. update, it's just a depression. We'll look at what is actually falling at the surface. A lot of rain still ongoing in central Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, a little area of storms in the panhandle of Oklahoma and far northern Texas. This will enter southwest Kansas, and then just scattered and smothered showers and downpours. You're getting pretty close to this ridge of high pressure that's somewhere in here. Not exactly sure where it's centered, but based off the way that the showers are kind of turning right into here, it's probably somewhere right into here, right over the Great Lakes. And there's a little bit of a flow out the northwest, right over areas of Canada, just north and northeast and east of Maine. This area right here will be the epicenter for some intense storms today that will drift in from the north to the south, rotating around this high pressure that is centered right here, rotating clockwise. So it's going to be an interesting day of weather, I can tell you that. There is some rain falling in the western UP of Michigan. You guys need some rain. It's been drying out very quickly as you guys have made a quick transition from winter, totally skipped spring and went straight to summer. So pretty wild stuff, but there is an enhanced risk for severe weather today. Level 3 out of 5, guys. I'm not expecting this to go to a moderate risk, but we'll see. But this is going to be a pretty active day. I know you've already have had a lot of active severe weather in this portion of the country over the last almost 2 weeks now. Today we'll have a little bit more power to it, if you will. But, Lubbock to Midland, to Fort Stockton, Odessa, Abilene. You got to watch out San Angelo too, even though it's kind of on the far eastern area of this risk area. But this entire area of western Texas. If you live in like near El Paso, that area, you got the dry line set up. So you're on the western side of that dry line, which means you're on the dry side. So no big time storms expected for you guys. But you notice how cut off it is right here. That screams dry line, just looking at the Storm Prediction Center graphic here. So enhanced risk today. What is the risk for? Well, you got a 5% risk of a tornado. So it's definitely not tornado driven. So there's a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location in this brown area. 2% risk for the same criteria. But the wind threat has increased. Not only do you have a 30% risk of winds pushing 50 knots or higher, that's 55 to 60 miles per hour, which in a lot of cases is damaging winds depending on how lightweight an object is, whether it's a trash can floating down the road or yard debris, whatever it may be. But you see the black lines going through this red area. The red outline is kind of overlapping the black outline, but you also have a chance of significant winds in this black outlined area, which basically is a 30% risk. There's a 10%, that means there's a 10% risk of winds pushing 65 knots or higher. That's 70 to 75 miles per hour. It's basically hurricane force winds, which is considered 74 miles per hour or higher. So there's a 10% risk within 25 miles in any given location to see hurricane force winds. But the hail threat is going to be massive today. Gigantic hail is possible. You got the 30% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger in the red area. The 15% risk is a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger in 25 miles in the given location. Then you see the black outline region, which goes over areas of the 15 and 30% risk area. That has a chance to see significant hail. We call this a hatch risk for folks that are new or haven't tuned in for a while. That means there is a 10% risk to see hail in excess of 2 inch in diameter or larger, exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. The Storm Prediction Center of the National Weather Service considers that significant hail, and it is. That's when you start to have some dents in your cars, things like that. So big day ahead in the southern high plains and areas of western Texas, pretty much all of western Texas. The flooding risk today is big also, guys. You have a bimodal moderate risk, which if you don't know what the moderate risk is, here's the legend down here. If you're in a moderate risk, that is at least a 40% risk to see flash flood guidance being met in this region. So almost a 50-50 shot within 25 miles at any given point to see flash flooding. And we're certainly probably going to see it today. It's not necessarily that these areas are going to see 3 to 4 inches of rain. Some areas might just see an inch and a half, but you guys have already seen a lot of rain, one, and then two, these areas don't typically see this much rain. In fact, if you read the discussion down here on this page right here, it says areas of Montana has seen 300 to 400% of the rain in a 2-week period over the last 2 weeks. So that's quite impressive, and it's just too much rain. But the National Hurricane Center update from 4 a.m. Central Time, 5 a.m. Eastern Time, we still just have a depression. Nothing's really changed. It's now drifting south at 5 miles per hour. So, it's getting a little bit more of a move on than the 2 miles per hour yesterday. But it's not you don't see the S on here no more. So it's not forecast to become a storm. We don't name tropical depressions. Well, I don't, but they don't name tropical depressions. They name tropical storms or higher. So this is not forecast to now take the name Arlene. So we'll continue to get a little bit deeper into hurricane season and see what does. But who knows? This might surprise. But if we look at this thing right now, and the sun is not completely up in this region, you see the low-level spin right here. This area in green, orange, yellow, that is the convection. And as you can tell, to have a healthy tropical cyclone, you need convection wrapping around this entire low-level spin, or at least around half of it. You have a stout low-level spin, which means that, this is definitely a tropical cyclone, but basically, I would say 75% of the outer sections, and basically 75% of the direction of any given point of this storm is being sheared really bad by shear. So, the shear is not good. for these tropical systems. It basically blasts all the convection away, and then the convection really just tries to blow up in a favorable area, and the only favorable area is on the northeast portion of this storm. So it's not looking healthy this morning whatsoever, but there was only going to be about a 24, 36 hour period where this had a chance. So it just depends on if these systems take advantage of that chance, and it really has not. From yesterday evening throughout the overnight hours. But if you look at the HRRR model and what could happen, the impacts haven't changed. I mean, even if it was going to become a full-fledged 40-mile-per-hour tropical storm, the impacts would not change. And really it's because it's now drifting south and not over Florida like it was looking like it could potentially do a few days ago. But this is it. This is the little spin down here in the Gulf of Mexico. And really it's going to be the same kind of weather day as it was yesterday for Florida. As you can tell, numerous showers and storms ongoing in Florida. We'll zoom into these areas, and I'm taking more of a broad approach just to show you other areas too. But I do want to mention a warm and, the Mississippi Valley, areas of the south central U.S., the western deep south. Pop-up downpours are possible anywhere from Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, western Tennessee, up to Missouri. It's going to be kind of one of those 20 to 30% chance days of rain, but you never know if that 20 to 30% chance is going to be right on top of your house. But we'll zoom into this region down here in Florida. And as you can tell, we get a little bit deeper into the morning. We're at 1, 2, 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m. And then this is when you begin to have widespread shower and storm downpour activity in the southern peninsula of Florida. But I would say it becomes more robust as you get a little bit later into the afternoon, evening, right around dinner time. Could certainly be a rainy Friday night for the Tampa Bay area down to Fort Myers and down basically the entire southwest coastline of Florida. Certainly a lot of tropical downpours, and watch out for any rain that, just kind of hangs out over the same areas. Like, the HRRR model likes that idea around the Tampa Bay area for sometime this evening, a multi-hour period of heavy rain. So, this could drop a lot of rain very quickly. So not expecting any severe weather, but rainfall between now and the next 24 hours. Someone can see a 1/4 inch of rain. Someone could see an inch, inch and a half of rain, especially, I would say, more so favored in the southern part of Florida. But be careful with these little pockets of, rain that just kind of stay over the same areas, reform. There's not much pull directional wise, and that's because this low pressure is just moving very slowly. Northeast, could be a big day today. One thing I mentioned is you go back to the Storm Prediction Center, as I thought we would get a marginal risk issued for the Northeast. We still could on the next update or two. I'm still going to stick with my gut and say they do, but as of now, it's not there. But you go back to this, see what can happen today. If you're wondering what time frame we're at, 10 a.m., this is an Eastern time, so that is correct up here. We get into about lunchtime, nothing going on. And then around 1 p.m., we get some storm activity in the northern half of Maine. Not that intense yet, but we start to get to about 3 p.m., 4 p.m. These storms start to look quite intense in central Maine. So we got to watch out for these storms. They could produce some hail, some gusty winds. No tornado threat with this. No tornado threat, but you never can rule completely out a tornado threat, as you know. But these storms look quite intense. I can tell you from Pennsylvania onward, southward, westward, no rain. I know you guys, I've heard a lot of people say you guys need rain in Pennsylvania. It's drying out, Ohio. But nothing expected from this today. But let's zoom into this region, right? So let's take a look at Maine, kind of Vermont, New Hampshire first. And bang, this is around 3 p.m. Intense storms possible well north of the Bangor area, but these storms will move into the Bangor area. I would say anywhere from 3 to 5 p.m. And you see these areas in that dark red, that pink. I'm telling you, there's going to be some hail produced in some of these storms. And you get into the 5 p.m. time frame. If you hear any music in the background, my girls are in there dancing this morning. It's their last day of school, so they're excited. I'll stop it right here. 5 p.m. Waterville, Augusta, Bangor, down to Rockland. These storms, Bar Harbor, I would say these start to affect the Portland area maybe right around the time you're heading home from work, 5, 6 p.m. These storms blast through. And I would say for most of the Maine area, these storms will be done by about 9 to 10, 11 p.m. But you go on down to southern New England, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire. Some storms could pop up as early as 2 to 4 p.m. Right around the Boston area, anywhere in Massachusetts. There's going to be some intense heating in Massachusetts today, in southern New England, Connecticut, Rhode Island. Temperatures will quickly, I mean, I'm talking about by lunchtime, they will rise into the 90s. It will be very uncomfortable out there. Even for Carolina standards, it's going to warm up. The atmosphere is going to get primed very quickly. That's why I'm favoring more severe weather than what the Storm Prediction Center is saying. You know, I don't come on here and just give you guys the professional's opinion. I give you guys a professional's opinion, but then I give you my opinion too. And I think we're going to have some severe weather in the Northeast today. But we'll see what happens. You know, this is around 5, 6, 7 p.m. So it shows an intense storm right over the Rhode Island area. But they could be more widespread than this. What I can tell you is once you get to 8, 9, 10 p.m., I would say this becomes more widespread shower and storm activity, but I would say the severe element of these storms probably drop and you just get widespread downpours anywhere from southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire, down to Mass, down to Connecticut, Rhode Island. These storms could be producing a lot of rain, and then by the time you get into after midnight tonight, you're done with it. Certainly could get some beneficial rain today. Somebody can squeeze in an inch or so of rain. Well, they'll certainly watch. All right, so the big storyline, I would say, is this severe weather threat today. Let's take a more broad approach, meaning look at everybody here in the south central U.S. And what I can tell you, your odds immediately go to this. A lot of severe weather activity popping off just east of the dry line. Remember, a dry line is a separation between kind of that warm, moist Gulf air and that desert southwest air. And normally, I've always wanted to drive right through a dry line and see the big difference. One day I will. But you know, it's literally just a cutoff between very moist, humid air and very dry, humidless air, if that's even a word. So we'll stop it here. One thing I want to talk about is you could have storms all the way in eastern Colorado, a little area of shower and storm activity from central Nebraska and central Kansas points east. Okay, so numerous showers and downpours are possible, you know, from Kansas City up to Omaha, kind of very isolated about here in Missouri. But this is the big storyline here. Okay, nasty storm down here. And let's go on and just talk about it. So let's zoom in specifically on Texas. We're getting into, remember, if you're wondering what time frame we're at, back this up 1 hour, we're in Central Time, and this is showing in Eastern Time. So look at this. This is from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Look at the massive change. It's like the atmosphere just explodes. So let me check my Google Maps here, and I'm gonna butcher some names for you guys in New Mexico and Texas. You know how I like to do, but you know, Clovis, Hobbs, New Mexico. I would say these storms fire up kind of early this afternoon. Okay, and then all the energy will shift to Texas. But watch out early this afternoon, kind of an hour or so after lunchtime. These storms will explode right over you. It could go from nice sunny day to just explosive thunderstorms just like that. But I'll stop it here. This is around 3 p.m. Heavy storm activity over Amarillo, heavy rain, hail. These storms are going to produce some very large hail. The ingredients are there, your thermodynamics, meaning you're going to have high CAPE levels. The lapse rates are going to be very supportive in response. Dew points are going to be enough. Surface temperatures are going to be into the upper 80s, low 90s. So the only thing that you're missing for a significant severe weather outbreak is high-end kinematics, which you typically don't see that this time of the year with a huge trough digging and things like that. But some of these storms will almost create their own kinematics. When I say kinematics, I mean the spin in the atmosphere, the favorable wind pattern for a tornado threat. We'll just stop it right here. Storms look explosive down here near Midland, Odessa, Lubbock, Lamesa, Andrews, Stanton, Denver City, Brownfield, Levelland, Seminole, Tahaka. You know, you guys correct me if I butcher it. You know I am. Big Spring, Post. I would say these storms start to kind of drift into those areas a little bit later in the afternoon, but we get to 4, 5 p.m. And I would really watch the southern mode right into here. These look like storms that could produce hail the size of softballs down here. You got this one lone cell down here riding the Mexico-U.S. border down here in Texas. This could be very intense. But listen, if you get a storm down here in this portion of Texas today, I would do anything you can to protect valuables like your car. I know not everybody's, fortunate enough to have a garage or a carport. I have a carport that it's enough to fit one car, but certainly be aware of these storms today. And these storms could eventually drift into the San Angelo area, but I think they'll begin to lose some steam. Could make it, eventually, and this is around 10 p.m. So I would say today, this is not going to be the worst at nighttime like we always hate to see. This is going to get going this afternoon pretty early on, last throughout the evening. And yeah, I mean, around midnight tonight, you could still have some lingering intense storms, south of San Angelo near Junction, Sonora, Rock Springs, this area down here could be, down near here, the hills of Texas. These storms could be ongoing, but they will certainly lose their intensity. But I mean, you can look at the low-level moisture profile here. I mean, we'll stop it here. This is around lunchtime. Dew points rising into the 70s, 60s. And here's what I'm talking about. You got dew points in the 60s, and then you go about an hour. You drive about an hour west, and you got dew points in the 20s and 30s. So that's a separation between very dry and very moist air. And normally you get explosive thunderstorms that produce very large hail with these setups. Because even though it's very moist at the surface, with so much dry air at the surface nearby, there's a lot of dry, cooler air aloft, which supports those low-level lapse rates, which means, I always try to find the best way to explain this, how quickly does the temperatures drop as you climb higher up in the atmosphere? If they drop very quickly in a very short amount of space, if you will, then that supports higher CAPE levels, okay? Dramatic, just think of this. Anytime you got a dramatic changing in temperatures in kind of a short area of space or a short amount of time, you got some kind of nasty weather going on or some kind of massive change in the weather. So keep this going. The moisture is plentiful. You got tons of low-level moisture, dew points in the 60s, even some low 70s. I would argue you're probably going to have low 70s out here. And I mean, you look at the mixed layer CAPE in response to all this ingredients that you have in place. Let's make sure we got this here. And CAPE levels will build, pretty substantially in this area. I mean, it's not going to be, this CAPE bomb or massive ingredients, but you don't need it with this. I mean, you got CAPE levels rising well over 2,000. I'm sure this is probably going to be higher in certain areas, 3,000 joules per kilogram. You look at the surface-based CAPE out here, and it's obviously going to be higher. But a lot of this surface CAPE that's closer to the surface, it's going to be ate off of. And then watch this. Watch as these storms explode and they eat up all that energy in the atmosphere. This is how it works. It's pretty wild stuff. So tornado threat, I would favor down here. It's going to be any tornado threat. I wouldn't be surprised one bit if we get it, even though there's only a 5% risk. It's going to be down there. But the rainfall, 1 to 2 inches of rain. Somebody can get 3 inches of rain today. It's already raining in certain areas of certain portions of this part of the country. But, certain areas you're going to get flooding. There's already been flooding in portions of western Oklahoma and Texas over the last several days. You're probably going to get it today, as up here will be more of a cluster of, could be severe weather, but more of just a cluster of very heavy rain. So please be aware of this. Please certainly be aware of it. The north central U.S., same kind of pattern as yesterday. You're going to have widely scattered, isolated, scattered showers and storm activity. Some of these could be strong to severe, but pick your poison out here if you're not a storm fan. You got this area of storms that's wanting to ride the Iowa-Nebraska state line. You got this cluster of kind of downpours and eastern South Dakota or eastern North Dakota, but you could have it over here. You got this area, shower activity here. It's just going to be everywhere. It's kind of hard to pinpoint who exactly sees what. What I can tell you is the further east you work, kind of, further east into Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, the chances that your rain chances significantly drop off. The further west you go, the more they grow. So, the Dakotas, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, western Wisconsin, in northern Missouri, you guys could have, anybody could see an isolated downpour, maybe even a storm that could reach severe limits. So be aware. I know that's a very broad forecast, but this is kind of one of those days the short range models really struggle with the flow ongoing. But what I can tell you today, and we'll take a broad approach first, and then we'll zoom into the northern plains. You're already dealing with a lot of rainfall this morning, and you will continue to have this spin, and this is in response to a mid to upper level trough that continues to be a massive spin, and it's blocked. And it's because you still have this blocking pattern over Canada, right? So this system, it just continues to spin, and you can actually see the spin in nature with this, right? There's a little bit of a spin to it, where you got these storms drifting south up here, these storms drifting north right here. So I mean, we'll back it up here and restart, but this morning, already a lot of shower and storm activity. Warming will cause some of this shower and storm activity to become more intense. Idaho, Montana, Colorado, not as much rain for, I would say, northern Nevada, Oregon today. In fact, let's just go on and switch to the northern plains. And here they go. Boom. We'll stop it right here. This is around 5 to 6 p.m. this afternoon, this evening. Some hefty storms are possible. Severe weather not expected in Montana, but cannot be ruled out. But heavier downpours throughout the entire state of Wyoming, Montana, especially central to eastern Montana, Colorado, eastern Colorado. You certainly could see some intense storms today. Southwest Nebraska, storm activity is likely today. But these will produce a lot of rain. I would say the severe nature really isn't the big topic with these today. It's really the rainfall. I mean, that is just too much rain. 1 to 3 inches of rain is possible. I would say if you live, let's see if I can name out a couple. Great Falls. I mean, Great Falls is pretty much a household name in Montana. Helena, I think someone said I pronounced that wrong last time, so you guys let me know. Bozeman, Billings can see a lot of rain, but I would say that it's mostly centered kind of over the Great Falls region. This region right here is kind of central, north central Montana, but I mean, a lot of rain can fall in these areas today, so please be aware. Temperatures very warm, record-breaking warmth for areas again today. I would say areas in New Jersey, maybe southeast Pennsylvania, Maryland. I would especially say New Jersey. New Jersey, I could see someone hitting 96, 97, 98 degrees today. But areas will get quite warm, even though it doesn't really show it well in Massachusetts. I would say Connecticut, Mass, will get into the 90s very quickly today. Very hot in Illinois. You're drawing out very quickly. Ohio, Indiana, widespread 90s getting into Michigan. It's been a warmer start to the warm season up here than it has been for the southeast. It remains to just have temperatures in the 80s. Okay, so we just continue to get this favorable flow that allows for temperatures just to be a little bit more cooler. But what I can tell you is it's starting to get a little bit more humid out there. We don't have those low 70 dew points in the Carolinas yet, but I know they're coming. But we have really had a nice start to summer, I can tell you that. But very hot across the eastern U.S. The western U.S., below average temperatures remain. The only area that could be a little bit above average is, this area of the Dakotas. But this is well below average temperatures for a lot of these areas, especially the desert Southwest. It's much cooler in Wyoming and areas of kind of western Montana today. This will be a chilly rain for areas of these portions of the country, unless you're in eastern portions of these states like Wyoming and Montana. But that's all I got, guys. I might not have a video tonight. It's Friday night, but we'll see. But going forward, really, we're just going to continue to have severe weather chances, but really going forward, I don't see a huge topic to latch on to. But of course, every time I say that, then one emerges. So that's all I got, guys. Y'all have a great Friday, great ending to your week. God bless you all, and I'll talk to you soon.